too many lows. Too many storms and tornadoes. 9:20. Welcome back to our daily show on this Monday morning, the 13th day of May. Ray Hartmann putting down the microphone and running for office for the 2nd District in Missouri there for United States Representative. Ray, how are we doing this morning, man?
Great. How you doing, CJ?
Struggling for a lead-in, but I'm doing better now, you know?
Well, it figures you have a chiropractic lead-in for me. That's good. That's good.
I did
Rosewood. Get out there to Rosewood, and hopefully you won't be walking like Ray is. No, no, actually, I'm doing great. I tell people that this is like starting a company, running for Congress. And I feel like I'm 24 again, because that's how old I was when I started the Riverbend Times. And I take about 3 steps. And it's like, where's Rosewood? No, I'm fine. I'm fine. No, I'm good.
This is really exciting, man. I mean, number one, it's really cool to put your name on the ballot because, it's so easy to sit there on the sideline for years and years and say, we need to change. But, for you to really put yourself out there and do this, it's exciting.
Well, I thank you. And I really did it because I'm concerned, like a lot of people are, about the direction we're headed as a country, particularly when it comes to just whether we're actually going to have a democracy. And I found myself thinking about, am I going to want to move out of the country if Trump wins, that kind of stuff. And I thought, this is a time that if you're serious about being concerned, you just got to raise your hand if you're in a position like I am of having been in the public eye for so long. So, and I don't say that with any pomposity. It's just true. I think, I'm going to give it a shot, and I think we have a very good chance of defeating Ann Wagner and flipping the seat in a year that Congress, I think any of the national, any observers or pundits, whatever you want to call them, feel like Congress, the House of Representatives, is going to come right down to the wire.
It is.
In terms of.
Well, Ray, looking at those numbers from 2020 and even 16 or 18, she didn't really win. It's not that much of a stronghold district, that they were kind of holding, prowess over. This is it seems to me to be anybody's race. It was within 4 points last time against Leary or McCreary?
No, it was a little more. I will say this: they what happened was. She almost lost in 18, and
that's
then
what it was.
Jill Superin, and then they gerrymandered the district in 22. So they decided to take it out to just short of Santa Fe, New Mexico. But no, they gerrymandered it. But it's officially a 7-point district,
okay.
Leading Republican, which it was 0 point before. They did about 7 points of gerrymandering. However. That is a single digit district. It's the closest to any. It's the closest to the only thing you really could call a swing district out of the 8 districts in Missouri, and so it is very definitely competitive. And with reproductive freedom being on the ballot in Missouri in November, which is not official, but it looks quite likely that it will be. And just nationally, suburban districts, partly because of Donald Trump, but partly because of reproductive freedom, really being in play more than, that's the place that Republicans are most vulnerable. As a Democrat, I think I have a real good chance.
100%. I'm right there with you. And now, as you're looking at this, what were some of your major concerns with Ann Wagner over the years? Because I know that you and I have talked on, your show about things she was doing. But with reproductive freedom being a big issue, and it is a huge issue, is there anything else on top of that secondary that you saw that said it's time we got to take her on?
Absolutely. It's not a one issue campaign. I mean, that one's easy to talk about only because I've been pro-choice for a long time, and she describes herself as pro-life, and so we have a difference of opinion on that. And what makes it different now is that Roe v. Wade is no longer there to protect women and make it an academic conversation. It's particularly in Missouri. Of course, in Illinois, your state of Illinois is a place where so many women now come from Missouri just to have health care, to protect their health care. So that's a big thing. But no, I think the biggest thing I hear about her when we talk is just that she's never there. She's in 12 years. If you can imagine this, serving in 12 years in Congress, she's never debated an opponent. She refused. She's always asked the League of Women Voters. I saw somebody from there. She's always asked by the League of Women Voters to come to their candidate forums. Always refused. Not even by Zoom. She's completely refused to attend to debate. Zero town halls. She's never held a spontaneous town hall where anybody could come and ask questions. And basically she just doesn't, she's never anywhere where you can have an unscripted kind of, work. It never works without a net. Well, and if I was on the radio, I'd make it a net. I mean, I am on the radio. If I was having my show, I'd make a joke about a net. But no, she's never worked. She always works. She's always in a protected environment, and that is a huge thing to people. And then, go ahead. I was going to say what it manifests itself is when not that long ago, last March. The Senate, thanks to Josh Hawley of all people, passed for the first time a bill for compensation of radioactive waste victims. I'm sure you know about that. Many of your listeners are in the North County area and that were directly affected. We all in the St. Louis region are affected, but the St. Louis County, North County particularly, we had thousands of people dying. Have died or are suffering from rare cancers because of exposure to radioactive waste that was dumped in the 40s in the Manhattan Project. And so we finally got a giant bill passed. Thanks, really, Holly worked it. $3.7 billion with a B in compensation to St. Louis area victims, and she came out and said it was too expensive. And it was just that only somebody that's disconnected with her district would even think about doing something that tin-eared. And of course, she got crushed by me. Holly called her shameful. When Holly's calling you shameful, that's not good.
That's a good point.
And so she ended up scurrying for cover. And of course, she did something she does. She's not the only one that does this among politicians, but she just pretended like she didn't say it. So she goes the first thing she does is fail to pick it up. Okay. Fail to run with it. And that from all appearances killed it because with a key hometown, representative of the only Republican not picking up the ball and running, that gave them such a fig leaf, such an excuse not to do anything because they don't want it. The Republicans aren't exactly interested in spending money and on anything. Right. And so that gave them an excuse, and so she effectively killed it. And then she goes to the floor of the House and gives an emotional speech saying that she's I forget exactly what she used. She said she was very angry that the House had failed to pass it after she didn't support her. So basically she described herself as just being, I think she said it was just outraged that they took her original position, which she tried to abandon. So it was really, and she got the media, of course.
I'm sorry. That has to be one of the most laughable acts of a congressperson. And I hate to sound so
she
biased.
Just said she was outraged over it. And of course, in the media, we in the media, I was talking to a friend of mine in the media. I said, I know, because I've been in the media for half a century, so I couldn't, I just said, I said, I know we have short memories, but like 10 days, because they didn't really stick her with the fact that she she said she was outraged, but so I'm not, she'll be, and then so she's definitely, it's something we're going to be talking about. And I want to say this to you, CJ. I've spoken to audiences in South County. I mean, all the way to like Oakville, which is about as far away as you can get in the region to that waste. And they are as attentive and angry about that as anybody else. It's really interesting. It's not just the folks in St. Charles County, which part of St. Charles County is in our district. It's not folks, in North County. It's everywhere. People are really, and when you lay that out, just the timeline, it's fairly compelling.
Well, and honestly, Ray, I mean, this radioactive waste isn't a partisan issue.
Exactly.
It's not. And when you have an individual, and just following her a little bit, that is Miss High and Mighty on certain subjects. I mean, you can't take a local issue and try to grandstand it and basically tell your constituents, hey, your problem means nothing to me. We got to go to Washington and figure out what's going on there first. Take care of home base and take care of your voters and take care of the people that are getting hurt and dying. That's just as simple as it gets.
And she is known for that. She prides herself on, being against pork, okay, which sounds great. But you know what? I don't care what district you're in. You span several districts. We can all talk about how we, philosophically don't like pork. And sure, but one person's pork is somebody else's needed services or needed federal spending, which everyone, unless you're, I apologize to those who might be listening overseas, but if you're in the United States, you pay plenty of taxes, and all 435 districts expect their representative to advocate for that district.
Yeah.
Okay. You just don't, and for I was talking to somebody, close to this in Congress, who was saying she consistently stands out against things here. Now, she claims she brings it back, but mainly, we'll just gotta leave it at that. She is not connected to this district, with the exception of one thing which she really does well, which is photo ops. I've been on her email list forever. If somebody shows up at her office, she's very available to take photo ops and show people that, oh, so-and-so came by and I like them and everything. But when it comes down to actually a tough vote, or even in this case, it wasn't even tough, she's really disconnected from the district.
Well, and, when you're talking to folks, too, I'm sure a lot of these individuals and voters in the 2nd District have never even seen her before or even really heard from her, that, hasn't been I hate to say it, but, a Republican media push to get out on Fox for 5 minutes and do your hit and you keep moving. So when you're talking to individuals, does it surprise them that a candidate for U.S. Congress is actually calling them on the phone, or at least talking to them, with, the lack of communication they're used to receiving?
It is. It's true. And of course, this is an election year, and so she will show up in some places. But once again, the one thing I'll do that she doesn't do is I don't script what I'm going to do. I don't only go to places. I'm going to be knocking on doors in Trump country, and I'm fine with that. And she will not subject herself to any kind of spontaneous interaction that isn't managed by her staff. That's the difference. I'll go anywhere. I'm going out to Washington, Missouri this weekend, which is a pretty red county. There's a wine fest out there. I'm going to be in places that I don't expect everybody to love me. Okay.
Right.
Story of my life. Right. No, but I mean, it's like, I don't care. I mean, to me, you learn as much talking to people who don't agree with you. And this, we both know this from radio. I mean, you learn often from people who you don't agree with as much as just, obviously I am who I am. I'm certainly not backing down from my viewpoints on issues, but you learn a lot by talking to the other side.
Absolutely. And as you're going forward here, what's the best way for folks, if they're interested in helping you in your fight here? Because I know you have a primary coming up. What day's the primary?
The primary is August 6th. The election is November 5th. And it's Ray Hartmann for Congress.com. Pretty simple, long. Ray Hartmann is F-O-R, spelled out. And Hartmann's got two N's. So you got to remember, anybody can go to Ray Hartmann for Congress.com. And we can use all the help we can get. And a lot of people that, even if you don't live in our second district, and maybe I'm sure many of your listeners do, but if you don't live in the district, there's 435 districts in Congress, and this could be the 218th. And I'm sure, I think the proudest day of my life would be, other than the births of my kids, would be get married. I don't know, maybe I thought to put some things in there. Proudest public moment of my life would be to vote for Hakeem Jeffries for Speaker of the House.
Well, and you know, Ray, there you go. And I'm excited to see how it, you know, plays out throughout the next couple of months. I think you have a great shot, man. And I have folks already, you know, I've told you that have said, I want to knock on doors. I want to call for Ray. And it's really cool to know that you're touching base with some of the blue collar folks too.
Put them in touch with me. And also any that have a couple spare dollars.
Yes. Yes. We need
a couple, say, $3,300 per person per household per race. No, no, that's that is a challenging part of this, but it's, you know, I'm having a great time and I really appreciate me on.
Well, you know, real quick, I thought it was, I found something here. It was on one of the page 6s, and I had to read it to you. It says, Republicans didn't know who to send after Ann Wagner, but they heard Holly ran. So they sent him to run after Ann Wagner. It was kind of interesting here on page 6. I don't know.
Very good. Well, thank you.
All right, man. Hey, always good chatting with you, and we'll have to get a bite to eat or something here soon.
Appreciate it. Thanks, CJ.
No problem. 9:36, a little bit of change. We'll take a quick break. Daily Show hits you on a Monday right after this.